The first Chud became a culturally relevant movie for multiple reasons, and against all odds, also worked its way into the greater pop culture zeitgeist. I argued that the first movie doesn't quite stand the test of time a bit ago, and while I stand by that, it doesn't mean I can't enjoy it either. Chud 2, Bud the Chud, is a wild ride of a sequel that certainly didn't need to exist, but is somehow more fun than the predecessor. It also is a better sequel in a franchise that it doesn't technically exist in. Can't wait to get into that aspect. Most of you love Chud, but I'm here to tell you why Chud 2 is a great black sheep that straddles the end of the 80s and start of the 90s. I doubt I'll sway anyone onto my side of preferring this entry, but let's get into it and see what this movie has to offer. In the dog days of summer of 1984, a movie called Chud was released by New World Pictures with a tiny budget of $1.25 million, and it made back a not insignificant $4.7 million. That's just the box office numbers too, as home video and all of the new cool Blu-rays on offer certainly made it even more. The next year in 1985, also in August, John Russo and Dan O'Bannon released their own sequel, sort of, to Night of the Living Dead, and it was also a huge success. Return of the Living Dead would make $14 million on its $4 million budget. Why am I bringing out that particular series? Because Chud 2 is secretly a sequel to Return of the Living Dead. Much like Tales from the Dark Side the movie is the true Creepshow 3, today's movie follows a similar pattern, though I won't take away from the real Return of the Living Dead Part 3, as I quite enjoy that one. But let's get into it. Even though they're referred to as Chuds, the cannibalistic underground dwellers, not the government title, and the dang cover shows the same Chuds from the first movie, these guys are zombies. They aren't quite the same menacing, sprinting zombies from the first Return movie, but they sure act in the same silly manner as the ones that Part 2 show us. This movie was originally conceived as a sequel on top of the surface-level observations, as confirmed by writer Ed Naha. Naha wrote the first Troll movie and the Dolls movie for Stuart Gordon, as well as Spellcaster and Dollman for Full Moon. Finally, the dude was heavily involved in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, both the movie and TV show. This is certainly the black sheep of his catalog. The director chosen was David Irving, who had done some fantasy adaptations like Rumpelstiltskin, Sleeping Beauty, and The Emperor's New Clothes, but not much else, and really nothing after. The movie begins with a credit roll that immediately shows you what you're getting into, with the title sequence getting eaten with satisfaction. We then shift to a hospital where the final Chud is being euthanized. It's here you'll immediately realize that these are not the same Chuds we had prior. In fact, it's just straight up a zombie. We also get introduced to some of our main characters.
I just bumped into... Oh shit.
The titular Bud, possibly and hopefully a take on Bud from Romero's Day of the Dead, is played by the incredible Garrett Graham. Phantom of the Paradise, Demon Seed, Terror Vision, Chopping Mall, and Child's Play 2 all cement him into our favorite genre. My personal favorite, and one that I will forever take the opportunity to talk about, is Used Cars alongside Kurt Russell. On a fun side note, he plays someone named Bud T. Chud in the director's very next movie called Night of the Cyclone. As you'll see through the review and the movie, this is Graham's film. He even has his own theme song. But he does it all wonderfully. We also see the two military personnel played by Robert Vaughn and Larry Cedar. Cedar may be a name that you don't recognize, but his face and body of work are unmissable. He's one of the consummate professional character actors that we've had with over 200 credits to his name. I'll always know him as the opium addict Leon from one of the great shows ever, Deadwood, but you've seen him other places. Robert Vaughn I first saw in The Magnificent Seven, but the Oscar nominee has had a heck of a career. Battle Beyond the Stars, Zombie 5, Buried Alive, and today's movie are his genre efforts, but he's probably most well known as Napoleon Solo from The Man from U.N.C.L.E. Bud easily escapes his execution, at least temporarily, and the movie switches over to the other story that will intersect with Bud. The three friends of Steve, Katie, and Kevin get into trouble with their science teacher, which leads to them stealing Bud, as one does.
Now what? Well, we can just tell Mr. Proctor we sent his prized cadaver north on Highway 51. Or we can find a replacement.
They accidentally animate him in the bathtub, and he sets off on a series of escalating events that follow Bud changing a ton of the town into zombies, and the teens trying to navigate the army and find a way to stop him.
You punks have no idea what you've done.
This movie isn't scary or horrifying in the least, and that's okay. It is interesting to know that the director shot 3 distinct versions of the film, with one being focused on horror, one being focused on comedy, and one being a print version that could be shown on TV. Right from the moment that Graham's Bud wakes up in the tub, he acts his ass off without saying any actual words. His physical comedy and facial expressions are some of the best you'll see, and even the noises he makes in lieu of speaking just add a ton of character to, well, his character. Everything from Bud trying to be romantic, to him chasing the family dog, to him getting his fellow Chud zombies into a dance are all incredible scenes to watch. The high schoolers leave Bud on his own while the military hunts for him, and we also get introduced to other character actors like Jack Riley, Norman Fell, and June Lockhart. These 3 have been in some serious classics, both horror or sci-fi, and in general, so it's just nice to see them plugged in here along with the younger and current cast members. One of the leads doesn't even have an IMDb picture, but the ones who play Katie and Steve are Trisha Fisher and Brian Robbins. Robbins did Cellar Dweller and a ton of TV, including a large role in Head of the Class, and he later became a big-time creator and executive producer at Nickelodeon. No, not one of the bad ones that got their own documentary. Fisher doesn't have much else on her resume that this audience will know, but she's gorgeous and great here. While the kids are looking for Bud and the military is looking for the kids and Bud, Bud gets himself some new duds, duds for Bud, a haircut, and his own theme song. He slowly changes from rough-looking zombie into suave-looking zombie. The teeth are still rough, though. As he's turning these people into Chud zombies, it's Shaun of the Dead levels of fun to watch the general public just miss out or ignore the signs. I'd say it's a commentary on selfishness or people being afraid of change, but it's also, Chud too, so I doubt it.
Just the goddamnedest, ugliest looking barber in the world.
Even the military doesn't notice their own product, for Pete's sake. Hell starts breaking loose, and we start to get an all-out war between the living and the dead. We also see, after we were told, that these things don't die, which is another reason why it's a Living Dead film disguised as a Chud vehicle. The military saves the kids after we find out that Chud zombies still hurt when they get Simpsons raked into the balls. More great stuff from Graham. Freezing is supposed to work, but the zombies have figured out how to get out of that too. The students finally get told what's going on, and the rest of the zombie Chuds get to walk around on Halloween night. We get the scariest part of the movie, which is Robert Englund walking around with the trick-or-treaters looking more menacing than he has any reason to. More and more townsfolk get turned, and even kids are not safe, as we see when they enter another house as zombies. The school Halloween dance is the next target for the Chuds, and the group of students heads out to help when the government falters. They figure out that the perceived tropes of killing the brain don't work, and we see some of the better special effects that the movie has to offer. It's not a gory movie at all, but the makeup and effects walk the line of cheesy and fun.
Hey! Zombies! Well, who wants a bite?
The Chuds get lured into the pool by a tasteful Katie in her bathing suit, and we get, and I hate to beat this dead zombie horse, a scene very reminiscent of Return Part 2 where they lure them all to be electrocuted. This time they plan to freeze them all in the pool, but unfortunately Steve is bitten in the process. Bud literally pours his heart out to Katie, and the boys figure out how to destroy the Chuds for good.
Hold on, Teddy! It's working, it's great. It's working. It's working.
Steve leaves the group knowing he's become a Chud, and we also see that Robert Vaughn and another one got away to eat their way through the countryside.
I'm undercover.
We are again treated, and I do mean treated, to the Bud the Chud theme song as the credits roll, and that's it for official Chud releases.
Before we continue with our video, here's a reminder to click the Store tab on any of our JoBlo channels and browse our collection of the latest and freshest designs in our merch store. Go get you some.
I really didn't enjoy Chud 2 the first time I watched it. I typically don't care for horror comedies as much as just straight horror, and on top of that, I was expecting this to be an actual horror film. Now knowing that it was originally going to be a Return of the Living Dead sequel, and that this is a silly piece of camp that doesn't take itself seriously at all, I prefer it to the original and proudly keep it on my shelf. It's a fun movie to go back and watch, and honestly is another one that you can show to smaller viewers who are looking to get in the genre. As I said, I don't expect many people to be in the same camp as me in terms of enjoying this one more than the original one, but it does deserve your time. It's got great tone, great central performances, and a fun time to behold on screen. If you enjoy yourself a silly slice of horror and enjoy the sillier, campier side of Return of the Living Dead Part 2, then you should make Chud 2 your bud.
Thank you for clicking on our video, everybody. If you like what you saw here, please make sure you like the video and subscribe and share with your friends who like this sort of content. JoBlo remains an independent company, and we appreciate all of your support.